This is Wonky Sculpture, last day from the Appleton Museum of Art, and I'm Marie. I brought all of the sculptures that we have done so far this week just to remind you of what you've done, and I'm sure how awesome they are. And this one moves pretty nicely. I'm wondering if some of you have already painted yours because as you can see, I haven't painted mine yet. And if I was going to stack this, put this in here, okay, that does work. And then, let's see, I could do this, then I would do that one, and then I could do that one. So I'm going to put this aside, but you know what? I'm going to keep this base because I want to show you something later. We're going to kind of work inside here a bit so all of the shavings go in here. But I want to show you, okay, here's your foam. A lot of times it comes in a big block, and I've cut it in half, and I'm going to work on half of it at first. I wanted to show you this one. This one is one that has been finished, and it's been spray painted. You can paint these with any of the paint, the paint from the dollar store, but this one was just a can of spray paint that we had here at the museum. And as you can see, it's sculpted, carved all the way around. Remember, a sculpture is a three-dimensional piece of art. You can walk around it. You can see most of the time top, sides. So you've got to think, you gotta look at this, and you've got to think, I have to decorate all the way around. So look at the difference here. You can see I have carved away a lot of this, and I've got holes that you can see through. Okay, different types of different size holes, different carvings. And this is what we're going to do today. And you're going to find this is really, really fun. But before we start, okay, and I really want you to watch me, okay, first for a few minutes anyway, because I want to show you some things that you can do. You could use soap. If you're going to use soap, you can carve. You actually can bend, open up a paper clip and carve with that. I'm going to use a plastic spoon on this, but if you're using soap, you're going to have to use a regular spoon. I don't think the plastic spoon will carve. You'll have to get a regular spoon because you're going to have to scrape that. Yep. If you have modeling clay, if you have regular clay, put it together in a big block, or I mean, you can start it in a big ball, but you can use something that's going to stand up because you do want it to stand up later. Yes, you could use anything that's going to be soft. I mean, Play-Doh doesn't carve very well. It kind of comes out in chunks. Yeah, you could use modeling clay. You're just going to have to be careful see, I'm going to scrape. And you're not going to be able to do that with modeling clay as much as I can. You're just going to have to take your time and see how it goes. I have a plastic knife. I'm actually going to use a pencil to poke holes. You can open up a scissors. You're going to have to be really careful with that blade. You don't really need that because I can really do everything with these three things right here. Toothpick, absolutely. Anything with a point, craft stick, popsicle stick, pencils work great, to be honest with you. I mean, I have paintbrushes here for painting. You can use the end of the paintbrush, and actually the top part, I forgot about this, the actual bristles can be used to brush away some of the shavings, and I'll show you when I get to that. So if you do have a paintbrush, you can brush away some of those shavings, because when we dig in these grooves, you are going to get shavings. Okay, and see the brush can clean that out a little bit for you. Okay. So you can, do that. The other thing is, if you have, I hope you have some water. Here's the deal. All right, like I said, I try and keep things as I'm carving. I try and carve it so I eventually get it. You'll get a lot of it in here. You are going to get it over there, but you want to look at this entire block and what can I do? I want to make interesting shapes, and that's really what you're doing. Is you're carving out shapes, lines. You're trying to turn this square into something. I mean, this still does have edges, but whatever I do, I want to make it an interesting shape. So like this one particular here, even though this is squared off up here, I have this groove cut here. I have a groove cut in here. All right, watch. Just take a minute. You can scrape with a spoon. You can cut in with a spoon. Okay. Look at, I can even smooth that off a little bit with my finger. Now, all right, let's work with this curve right here. Okay. I can come back and I can make, I'm going to draw a line in here. See how, and just kind of pop that out. I can keep carving. Got to be careful because I don't want to lose this in here. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to use the end of the, because I want to make that a little bit wider. So take your time. I'm going to make that line wider. And when I get to the corner, be careful. Do you want to lose that corner? Maybe you do. But if you pop that corner off, there's no way you're going to get it back on. All right. So I like the idea that I've lost that corner because I do want to make, I don't want this to end up looking like a perfect block. You can use a cookie cutter. I've never tried that. I'm not sure. The thing is with a cookie cutter, when you press that in, usually with a cookie cutter, you're pressing that and you're hitting a bottom so that you can take that whole thing out. With a cookie cutter, it's going to go in, but there's no bottom to hit. So you can take that out. You will end up with that shape and you could carve the rest of that out. You could do that. My fingers in here. Okay. If you do want to drill a hole, this is where sometimes I do use the scissors. Let's say I want to make a hole from here to here. So I'm going to hold this at an angle and I'm going to twist this scissors. I've got to be very careful here that I don't pop off this whole corner. Yes. But once I do that, I'm going to go back, clean that up a little bit. I'm going to use the end of my spoon again. Just twist that around. And I can make that hole and I can go back. I'm going to start with a small one. And you might want to use that small one to practice, and just get an idea of all the different things that you can do. And then do the other half. Okay, now I'm going to show you something. Remember we had the base for this. If you cut your big block in half, obviously you're going to end up with two. What I did earlier today was I drilled a hole with my pencil. Okay. Oops, let's do it this way because this bottom that's flat. I can put this in here. If I do another block, I can put another block on here and I can make this stand up and I could make a twirl. So now you have a sculpture. See, if you put another block on top here, you would have two different pieces. That might be very, very interesting. So that's a possibility. I'm going to leave that right there. Basically, when you're doing this, okay, I've got to start here, but I'm going to keep turning. Don't keep working on the same side all the time. You know, turn this, and I'm going to scrape this plastic knife. I'm actually going to cut this corner off because I want to force myself to make this change from square to, there you go. Okay. All right. I've got this line here. So let's come across, and that's going to come off. I want to continue my design. And I'm going to come across here. So as I look at my sculpture, I see this curve, and oh, look, as it turns, that curve is continuing. And you know what? I may just keep going. This is going to give me something to work with because I've got this line that I can deal with. Oh, I've got this. This could come up here, or as you can see, I like circles. Let's make a circle around this circle. Just constantly brush your stuff off. You know, sometimes it's just a random, I mean, look at some of the different, okay, let's look at this one. I mean, these are just crazy little shapes that I dug down around them, and it makes them pop out. I mean, some of them are they're just odd little shapes. They don't have to be anything in particular. Let's take this side and just, all right, just make okay, I'm gonna just make a little curlicue. I'm just gonna make a wavy line here, okay? I'm gonna dig around this. I'm gonna use my spoon. No, I think I'll use the bottom here. I'm gonna dig around this, make that shape pop out, okay? So if you want something to stick out, you dig out around it. And I'm going to dig down deep. See, I really want this. Really want this to stick out. And you know what? Let's really dig around it. Don't blow too hard. You'll end up blowing this stuff all over the place. I am going to use a little bit of a brush here. Get that out, and my finger. Digging down, I made this shape pop out, and now this shape is popping out. And I'm going to carve this one even. I'm going to carve this down. Got to be careful because I'm getting a really thin edge here, and I don't want that to break. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to carve this back. You can just keep scraping. And sometimes this is the best thing to do is scrape because you don't get huge chunks out. I mean, that side is coming out kind of interesting here. Okay. But with this one, instead of carving around this, I am going to use my spoon and turn it and turn it. I'm going to pop out a circle. So now I've got a hole in there. All right, so I've got this. That's another thing. Let's do this one again. Let's, you know what? Right in the middle here. If you want to dig out a circle, put your spoon in there and just keep turning. Just turn it and turn it. Okay. And at some point, you're going to feel it get loose, and then you can kind of pop that out. Makes a great circle. Let's do it again. I want to make sure I don't cut through. I'm going to do, let's do a small one right here. So I'm not going to dig all the way down, but I'm going to put this in, okay? And you're just going to go, and I'm not going to push this really. Ooh, look at that. See, that's the thing you got to be careful of. You can't control sometimes what pops out. I am going to make this just by holding your spoon straight up and down. Just go around. And that's not as perfect a circle. I mean, this one is much better, but that's okay because I can go back and I can fix that. I love to use a spoon. Okay. Now I've got these areas here, but they don't seem to connect to one another as one design. They're like three different things, but they don't join and make a cohesive, in other words, a design that works together. And that's what you want. When you have a sculpture, you want, like, this line curves here, it goes over here. Oh, this connects to there. Oh, which connects to there, which connects to there, which connects to there. Okay, even this goes around here. You want this sculpture, as you turn it from side to side. Where was I? I was over here, right? I was there. Yes, I was there. So I can see where this line goes over here, but I need to do something. And this disturbs me, that little spot there. So I'm going to cut into that space and join those two spaces together. Yes, unity is one of the principles of design. In other words, things work together. So all of these lines and shapes, and I'm gonna see, with my pencil, I can go around that, make that rounder. All of these shapes and lines need to work together in harmony, in unity. This one, let's see. You know what? I'm just going to dig out. I'm just going to make a line here. And I'm not going to dig it into this groove, but I'm just going to make a curve here. Whoops, sorry. So I've got a curve here. I have a curve there. This curves, this curves, this curves. And you know what? See that little spot there? I'm just going to dig another little curve in there. It just makes, oh, you know what? Let's go down here. Let's make another one here. Every time you add something, it gives the viewer something else to look at. So look, see, I've got all of these different curves in here, lines in here, different areas to look at. I'm gonna smooth this out. And see, I can't resist. From that point to this point, I'm going to do another one. I'm going to make that a little bit. I'm going to dig that out. Okay. I'm going to turn this. All right. This side, boring. We got to work on that. This side's coming along. Okay. This side definitely needs work. All right, so let's go in here. And I'm just going to do something totally different. I've been doing a lot of circles, right? Let's do just some straight lines. Okay, sorry, had to do it. Had to make a curve. From here to the corner, let's do this. I could do this. I was thinking about cutting out some of this, but you know what? I can't because this is on the other side. If I cut out any of this, it destroys that edge. So I won't do that. Now, some of these, and you could make these wider. Make all of them wider. Top is a little boring. So, okay, so this area over here, this is like that curve. Got that hole there. I'm going to, let's dig a line. Use my pencil here. I don't want to put this because I'm afraid I will pop that whole section off. So I'm going to clean this up with my pencil. See, I'm afraid too much here. If I keep going in here, that's going to crack that whole section off, I think. Sometimes I have used a paintbrush and I have gone in with my paintbrush. Especially these areas that you've carved, you know, the water helps. It almost helps to, it's almost like to seal it and make it smooth. And if you don't have a paintbrush, you can use your finger, you know, dunk your finger in there and just kind of wipe around. And it does stop some of that stuff from flaking out. I especially like to do it inside those holes that I've carved out. I can dunk my pencil in too, because the pencil will still hold some of that water. This one I'm going to use more. So there's a lot more. If you have a couple of pieces, okay, and just, I'm looking at this. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my pencil and twist this pencil. Don't try and jam it through. Keep twisting until it starts to pop out. I can feel it. It's starting to come out here. There. And I'm going to just pull this through. And I actually think this pencil, yeah, this pencil is thicker. So I'm going to go back through that hole. Let's just try this. So if I put this here and, okay, look at it. You could have a very interesting sculpture that you could play with and keep turning in different directions. I need to make the hole in this one a little bit better so it'll swing, because it seems to be, but see, this one swings nicely. This one, what I'm trying to do is make that hole a little bit bigger. So this side, we definitely have to do something. I can see, all right, I can see a curve here and it comes around, and I'm going to, let's curve it down. So this comes around and out and in and down. Okay. There's a definite line here. There's that corner. And you know what? I'm just going to soften that corner. I'm going to scrape this. I want this to kind of just turn instead of having a corner, a side, and then a corner. And this. I want to scrape that. So it's a slow turn. And you know what? I'm going to do the same here, just a little bit. I'm just going to get rid of that corner. I don't want to cut because cutting, I may end up popping off too much and then destroying my shapes, my circle here and my line here. So I'm just going to scrape that. Come back over here. Let's work on this. So I kind of like this. And let's make a curve here. I'm going to cut this out. Yeah, you know what? Let's cut that shape out. I just want to, so I'm going to cut in here. And then I'm just going to scrape that out. The one thing you have to be careful about with this, the foam, you know, if this was clay, you could always put the clay back in and blend it together and make it whole again. When you are carving with foam, or when you think of it, when sculptors carve in stone, any type of a rock, any stone, once they cut into it, that's it. So they have to really think about what they're doing and what they want that space to look like before they cut. So when you see so when you see something, you've got to take out from around it, which in some cases, that's what we are doing. Yeah, Michelangelo's, well, we're not quite a Michelangelo yet. Positive space. Now, interesting, I always used to teach my classes, negative and positive space. Okay, think of a donut. Okay, get a picture of a donut in your mind, not a jelly filled, not a lemon filled. A donut, a plain, ordinary donut. The donut is important, but so is the whole. Okay, if you don't have the whole, then you don't have a regular donut. You probably have a jelly filled. So the positive space, which would be the donut that you eat, that's the positive space. The negative space is that whole. Okay, but you needed that whole to make the donut a donut. So yes, you need positive and negative space. Interesting concept. Okay, I'm just going to curve this. I'm going to dig another little circle. Just slowly, and I'm not pressing down because I don't want a deep one. I'm just using a little bit, and I'll carve that out. And you know what I do need? I need, like this one, I need something that goes through. And you know that nice circle that I cut here? I wonder, all right, here goes. You never know. I am just going to twist this till I get through, and I'm not sure what this is going to look like. I can feel it. I'm getting to the bottom. There, it's coming out right here. Okay, so you know what? Let's make a big circle here. I'm popping out all kinds of things. I'm determined. See, I'm getting there. I am getting there. All right, this time I'm going to take my knife, and with the knife, the plastic knife, I'm going to twist. Maybe the end. Let's try the end of the spoon. I go around and around and around. Like I'm stirring something. Oops, did I just pop something off? Oops. There. I do have a circle that goes, or a hole rather, that goes all the way through my sculpture. Now I could try and put that spoon, but I don't think I can dig that big a hole through there. But I do like the idea that I have a hole through there. You know what? Look at right here. There's the hole goes through here and there's a circle here. You know what? I'm going to dig through here. And that was easy. It just popped right through with my pencil. Just go round and round. And now I've got a little pop through right there that goes, see? Right in there. I've got to be careful about cutting anymore because I actually could lose that whole piece right here if I'm not careful. Okay. The best thing about this is you just keep, having fun with it. Just keep cutting. Or, you know what, scraping first sometimes before you cut, just to make sure you don't pop something off that you really don't want. Pop. This is going to be my bottom, so I'm really not concerned so much with this, but I do want the top to look good because I am viewing this from all sides. And if I put it on that spinny thing, I am going to see the top. So I'm going to dig out some more spaces. See, I can see a triangle here. I can see a triangle right there. So I'm actually going to draw a triangle and I'm going to dig around it to make the triangle more visible. Tap that off. So my triangle is definitely more visible now. See, yeah, I can see that shape. I mean, this is just an odd shape here, but let's dig a little hole in here. It's what I'm trying to do is just break up the space, those solid spaces, into something interesting to look at. This has got some nice curves, but you know what? Could we do something else in here? Sure we could. Let's just put some polka dots. All right, let's see. I could put a polka dot here. Oops, ooh, I could feel that. I'm not going to press on that anymore. I could just make little. I've got to be very careful here. Okay, so let's put a little polka dot up here. So now I'm putting patterns in some of my spaces. This one right here, all right, let's go around it. Now I've got patterns inside there. I don't want to do too many of the same, so I'm going to turn this and see. I mean, this is a pattern that I could continue. I could continue making polka dots in different areas around here. Right, I am going to show you a little bit about painting these, but first I want to clean out some of this, like I said, with my finger and a little bit of water. I want to get any of that loose stuff. This side is pretty good, but see, I've put this down a couple of times into that little mess. So, and then it picks up all those shavings. If you have spray paint at home, that's something that you can do, but go outside and do it because you don't want that spray paint inside for two reasons. It could end up spraying beyond where you actually want it. But the other thing is, the smell from the spray paint is not good for your lungs. The smell could give you a headache. It's not good to inhale any of that stuff. And it doesn't go away very quickly. You could spray something in the house in the morning and you're still going to smell it later on that night. So you want to take it outside away from the house and spray it. Okay. So like I said, this is the one that was sprayed. And if you want it to look like stone, you actually can find spray paint that says granite different. And I think there are a couple of different ones that give you a texture. So it actually does look like stone. This is just silver spray paint. And that's fine. And if you had a couple of different colors, you could just, quick little shots of different colors as you turn it, which I would recommend, putting it on something. If you're going to spray it, just do a quick little spray and then turn it and then turn it. Even if you're doing it all one color, better to put it on something like this than to try and hold it and spray it, because guess what? Your hand is going to get sprayed. I'm going to hand paint some of this. You're going to find that the paint sinks in. And you don't have to paint that whole thing. If you want to, pick colors that might go with the green. So you can actually leave some of the green after the foam. So, and okay, so I think you can choose to paint the places that you've dug in or the areas that pop out. In this case, but be careful. If you remember, when you start painting something, if I start painting this right here, oh, remember this connects to this, which connects to this, which connects to this. So keep turning this before you start painting. Look at, an area that you want to paint and make sure that you realize that that space turns to the next side and connects to something else. So right now, I'm just going to paint the top of this. And you're going to find the paint doesn't spread like on a piece of paper. It really just kind of sinks in. Again, I like to use a flat brush. And I'm really just kind of dabbing that on. I'm not, right now, I'm not sure I want to paint the sides of that. You know what? Let's try it. I could always scrape it off if I want to. So I am going to go down, but I'm going to put my paintbrush straight up and down and just go down and tap the sides. Okay, I'm just going to tap those sides. And you are going to get stuff on your brush. But let's just tap that. It's the best I can do. Okay, so actually, I'm glad I did paint the sides on that. As with anything, you want to repeat your colors. So if I'm putting blue here, I definitely want blue to be repeated someplace else. It doesn't necessarily have to be on this side, but I definitely want to repeat it because as my sculpture turns, remember, this is one piece of artwork. So I want that unity as far as shapes, but I want that unity as far as colors. And I'm looking at this right here. I've got something blue at the bottom. I'm going to put something blue up here. And see, it doesn't paint like when you paint on a piece of paper, it doesn't spread that well. So it's easier to just kind of tap it in place. It also makes it easier for you to control that, exactly where you're putting it. I guess I'm going to bring it out here. And I don't know. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's bring it down. So I'll just tap that in, just straight down. I don't really want to get into the groove. I just want to do the side of this shape. So I've got a blue. I've got a blue. And it's not that you have to put blue on each side, but, oh, that's interesting. See, I've got it on opposite sides here. You know what? I want to paint this inside here blue. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but a lot of times artists will use that odd number 3 or 5, but a lot of times you'll find 3. An artist will repeat a color. If you look at a painting, you might see the color here, maybe up here, maybe over here. It's so your eye moves around the object, around the artwork, and it picks up that repetition of color. 3 is a number that artists use a lot. Okay. Now, since I've already got the blue out, I'm going to put some white paint out here and mix up a light blue. I try and keep it in a puddle by pulling it in instead of spreading it out, because then it dries up faster. You know, when you're mixing, kind of pull your paint in, and then it doesn't, and then I just kind of press and get all that extra off. Light blue. I am going to paint the top of this light blue. I'm not going to go down the sides on this one. I'm just going to put that, and I'm going to add some light blue on this side. I'm going to put the light blue inside this. Add a little touch of water, thin that out a little bit so it spreads a little bit. Sometimes if your paint is too thick, just a touch of water on your brush will loosen up that paint and make it easier. And I'm just going to go inside this. When you're choosing colors, you know, stick to what I call a limited palette. Your palette is the colors that you have selected. With a limited palette, you choose a limited number of colors, like 3, maybe 4. Sometimes I'll pick 3 colors, but I can use white and black. So in this instance, I've got primary colors. I've got red, yellow, and blue. So you still have a lot of options, even though you only have 3 colors, because you have different variations. White will give you a tint. If you add black to a color, it's going to give you a shade of that color. So in this case, I want to add some bright red in here just to kind of make this pop. So what do you think right here? Let's put some red inside here. I'm going to do the sides of this first, but you know what? I'm going to bring the red out here. So I've got to paint that inside. It goes down into this, which comes down in here, which actually goes around here. So this is red. Okay, this goes up here. So this, but I'm okay with this because I'm thinking the red is really kind of bright and is very interesting. So guess what? This turns. So now this whole thing is going to be red all the way down to here. That whole section now becomes a red space. I'm going to go around here, and that's where it's going to end. So that's going to be all red. There's the red on that side. Okay, I am going to connect that, and this, and this. I'm just going to keep going. Just on the tops. Takes a little while for this to dry because, and you know what? That line is so skinny. Instead of putting my brush on its side, I'm going to use the top of my brush, the edge of my brush, and I'm just going to go straight up and down and paint that tiny edge. And I'll paint this too. Now I can turn it on its side. I've got a nice bunch of red going up the side, across the top, and I've got some over here. And this side seems to be left out of the whole thing. All right, one more, just a little bit more. This part right here. That's just the top. So no matter which way I turn this, I've got a little bit of red visible, and I've got blue, light blue, or I've got a dark blue. Now, as this dries, this is going to get a little bit darker. Right now, it is kind of bright. And I'm not going to spread it out. Again, I'm just dabbing it because I want it not to blend with that green. I want it to stay as bright as I can get it. And see this, it's amazing what you can do with primary colors with just those three colors. So I'm just going to dab this on, and it's going to soak into the foam. May take a little while to dry, but it's mostly soaking into this. It's soaking into this foam, not like paper where it spreads. So I'm just going to go down a little bit inside that hole. I'm not going to go too far in, and then just tap it, go up the curve, down the curve, and up the curve. You made a lot of decisions when you cut, and now you're making a lot of decisions when you paint, because you have to decide. I'm not going to do that slanted part. I only want to do the flat part. So I'm coming along this edge. So I'm going to almost paint an edge around here, because this is the part that starts slanting in. I don't want to do that because that's just way too much yellow. Right. Let's do this. And just that edge here as it goes into that curve. I think that's definitely where I want to end my yellow, because it's getting kind of overpowering. I was saying, as we did the holes, you could use your paintbrush straight up and down and actually make some polka dots. I'm just pressing on those dots that we carved in, and I'm creating pattern. The more you have to look at, or the viewer, whoever's looking, the more they have to look at, they spend a longer time, but it's just more interesting. If you just do a few things, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of nice. Oh, but then if there's more to look at, they spend more time, and then they probably start seeing things that they didn't notice before. So I got red, yellow, and I'm going to put orange in here. So my yellow is going to go right into orange. I'm going to go back in a minute, and I'm going to kind of blend these edges together. But right now, I'm just going to fill this with orange. So my sculpture is becoming more of a painted sculpture. Sometimes you just want to put it down and walk away from it and then take another look. But I am going to go back to this, because look, if you have cut yours in half and I got that, find that hole again. Look at, if you painted both of these, look at what fun you could have with these sculptures, you know, twisting and turning them. They could be a lot of fun. This is Wonky Sculpture from the Appleton Museum of Art. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Miss Marie. I hope to see you again